You're not imagining it. Your gas tank is emptying faster. You're filling up more often. You're driving the same routes, the same way, the same car, but somehow getting fewer miles per gallon. It's not your engine. It's not your tires. It's not your imagination. The fuel itself has been changed. On May 1st, 2026, the Environmental Protection Agency rolls out nationwide sales of a fuel blend called E15. They told the public it was about lowering gas prices. They didn't mention the part where it gives you worse fuel economy. They didn't mention the part where it can damage older engines. They didn't mention the part where it raises your grocery bill. And they definitely didn't mention the part where one of the most powerful lobbying groups in America has been trying to get this approved for over a decade, because it makes them billions. This is the story of how the government legally diluted the gas in your tank and called it a favor. How a fuel change dressed up as patriotic emergency relief is quietly costing you money at the pump, at the grocery store, and on your tax bill. And how the people who benefit have been working this angle for 50 years. To understand what happened to your fuel economy, you need to understand what just changed in your gas tank. For decades, standard gasoline in the United States has been what is called E10, a mixture of 90% gasoline and 10% ethanol. Ethanol is alcohol, typically made from corn. It has been blended into American gas since the 1970s. Then there is E15. As the name suggests, it contains 15% ethanol, 50% more alcohol than standard gas. Until recently, E15 was banned during the summer months in most of the country. The reason? It evaporates faster than regular gas, and that increases air pollution and smog. The Clean Air Act specifically restricted summer sales because of this. On March 25, 2026, the EPA issued an emergency waiver declaring a national energy emergency to allow nationwide sale of E15 starting May 1st. The official explanation: lower gas prices for American families. The unofficial explanation, much more interesting, because E15 is not about helping you, it is about helping someone else with your money. Here is the part the EPA press release did not lead with. Ethanol contains about 33% less energy than gasoline. Read that again. The fuel they are adding to your gas has 1/3 less energy than the gas itself. So when you increase the ethanol content from 10% to 15%, you are replacing high-energy gasoline with a lower-energy alcohol. The math is simple. More ethanol equals fewer miles per gallon. By the EPA's own admission, switching from E10 to E15 reduces fuel economy by approximately 1.5% to 2%. Independent testing puts that number higher. Some studies suggest a 3 to 4% reduction in real-world driving. Now, let's do the price math. A 15 is supposedly cheaper, about 10 to 30 cents less per gallon than standard E10. Sounds good, right? Except, if your fuel economy drops by 2 to 4%, you need to buy more gas to drive the same distance. The discount at the pump gets eaten up by the additional trips you have to make. In many cases, the math comes out to break even. In some cases, you actually pay more total to drive the same distance, because the savings per gallon do not cover the extra gallons you are burning. The relief at the pump the EPA promised, it is an illusion. So if E15 does not actually save you money, who is it really for? Meet the corn ethanol lobby. In the United States, roughly 1/3 of all corn grown is diverted to making ethanol for fuel. That is not a typo. 1 out of every 3 rows of corn in America gets turned into gas additive. Behind that diversion is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Companies like Archer Daniels Midland, Payette and Green Plains. Trade groups like the Renewable Fuels Association, Growth Energy, and the National Corn Growers Association. These groups have spent decades lobbying Congress and the White House to expand ethanol mandates. In 2025 alone, the ethanol industry spent over $9 million lobbying for year-round E15 sales. And taxpayers. We have been funding this for decades. Over the past 50 years, taxpayers have spent tens of billions of dollars subsidizing the corn ethanol industry. There is the volumetric ethanol excise tax credit, which alone cost $6 billion per year before being phased out. There is the renewable fuel standard, a federal mandate forcing oil refiners to blend a certain volume of ethanol into the nation's gas supply. There is the Section 45 Z Clean Fuel Production Credit, expanded in 2025, projected to cost taxpayers $53 billion over the next decade. Then, there are direct farm subsidies. Federal programs pay corn growers $660 million every single year. That is before crop insurance subsidies, blender pump installation grants, ethanol pipeline funding, and a dozen other taxpayer-backed programs. You are not just paying for E15 at the pump. You have been paying for it through your taxes for 50 years, and now they want you to buy the product you already subsidized, with worse fuel economy and at a price that does not actually save you money. Here is where it gets worse. Corn is not just used for fuel. It is the foundation of the American food supply. Corn feeds cattle, which become beef. Corn feeds chickens, which become poultry and eggs. Corn feeds pigs, which become pork and bacon. Corn becomes high fructose corn syrup, which sweetens nearly every processed food in the grocery store. Corn becomes cornmeal, corn flour, corn starch, corn oil. Corn is in your cereal, your tortillas, your bread, your salad dressing, your soda, and 1,000 other products. So what happens when you take 1/3 of the corn supply and burn it as fuel? Corn becomes more expensive. Animal feed becomes more expensive. Meat becomes more expensive. Dairy becomes more expensive. Processed foods become more expensive. You have already noticed it. Beef prices at record highs. Eggs that cost 3 times what they did 5 years ago. Cereal that keeps shrinking but never gets cheaper. Researchers have documented this for years. Diverting corn to ethanol production drives up food prices across the entire grocery store. As demand for corn rises for fuel, farmers plant less of other crops like sorghum, barley, and oats. Those grains become more expensive too. Livestock producers, the people raising your meat, get squeezed by higher feed costs. Those costs get passed to you. So when you fill up with E15, you are not just paying for worse fuel economy. You are paying for higher meat prices, higher dairy prices, higher prices on every food product made with corn. The savings at the pump, if they exist at all, get eaten by the costs at checkout. Now let's talk about how this got sold to the public. The official EPA press release framed the E15 expansion as a response to a national energy emergency, specifically tied to military operations in the Middle East and concerns about oil supply. Fortifying the domestic fuel supply, the announcement said. Relief at the pump for American families. It is a clever framing, patriotic, compassionate, urgent. Who would oppose helping families during a crisis? But here is what they did not say. The corn ethanol lobby has been pushing for nationwide, year-round E15 sales for over a decade. Every year, ethanol state senators and representatives push bills to permanently lift the summer restrictions. Every year, those efforts run into opposition from environmental groups concerned about smog and from oil refiners who do not want the competition. Just months ago, in early 2026, Congress specifically considered and rejected a permanent year-round E15 provision. The House stripped it from the spending bill. The ethanol lobby was, in their own words, disgusted. And then, weeks later, the EPA invoked emergency powers to do administratively what Congress refused to do legislatively. That is not a response to an emergency. That is a workaround. The corn ethanol industry did not get what it wanted through democratic process. So, an unelected agency administrator gave it to them by executive action, using a war as the justification. And the cover story, Relief at the Pump, was crafted to make you feel grateful for being asked to buy a worse product. Here is what this story is really about. It is not just about fuel. It is about how power operates when no one is watching. A regulatory agency quietly changed the product inside tens of millions of gas tanks, knowing it would reduce fuel economy, knowing it would raise food prices, knowing Congress had just rejected the same change weeks earlier. And they did it by invoking emergency authority for a war that had nothing to do with corn. Every piece of this played out in the open. The EPA press release is public, the lobbying disclosures are public, the subsidies are public, the science on ethanol energy content is public, the grocery price impact has been studied for years. None of it was hidden, it was just unexplained. Because the people who benefit from fuel you do not understand, from subsidies you never notice, from lobbying you never see. Those people count on one thing. They count on you being too busy filling up your tank to ask why the tank is emptying faster this month than it did last month. This is how industries protect themselves from their customers. Not with secrets, with complexity, with acronyms and regulations and press releases that sound patriotic, with a fuel change nobody explained, dressed up as a favor nobody asked for. And when you finally notice, the answer is always the same. It was already approved, it was already legal, it was already done. So the next time you are at the gas pump and you notice your tank is emptying faster, remember something. It is not your car, it is not your driving, it is not your imagination. It is the fuel itself, changed by the same government that promised to make your life easier on behalf of an industry that has been lobbying for this moment for decades, paid for with your tax dollars, dressed up as patriotic emergency relief. You are paying more at the pump, more at the grocery store, more on your taxes. Also, a few corporations can sell you watered-down gasoline and call it a favor. You're not imagining it. They diluted your gas, and they made it legal. The Dark Vault opens every Thursday. Subscribe, because the next story is already being built without you knowing.